Hey, what's up? We should be live. Let me know as always. You can hear me and see me well. And we'll get to it. So, gonna be fun because today we're gonna do some painting critiques. So my background's really messy. Maybe I'll close it. Just a second. Usually closed over there, but in any case, yeah, I hope everything is going well with you. Let me open up the stream on my end too, so that I can kind of monitor it, see everything is okay, and we'll get started soon. I have all of your paintings. Yeah, the audio quality is nice, that's good. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna soon open up all the paintings for you to see. And we'll critique them. We'll do a fun critique little video today. Got actually a lot of things for the short notice in which I asked for, for you to send your stuff. So I have maybe 30 or something paintings to go over, something like that, maybe 20. But yeah, if you want to send them while the live stream is ongoing, you can do that, and hopefully we'll have time to go over more. The email address is liron@lironyan.com. Hey Jan, I see you here. Hey Sherry, good morning, Liron. I'll be with you in and out all day. Yeah, no worries. Thank you for being here. Jan says, I subscribed your watercolor course and paid with PayPal, but after a payment, I didn't get any link. What can I do? Do you need to do it by your own? Okay, let me do this. Here's my email address for you, Liron. Watercolor. So Jan, I want you to email me to this address. Okay. Now for paintings, email me at ron@ronyan.com. So if you want me to review your paintings, for critique, use the other email address I shared. Sorry to hear that, Jan. I will definitely look into that right after the live stream. I'll actually put a reminder for myself so that I won't forget. This is important. I'll figure it out. And if the automatic system didn't just send you an email, which it should have, I'll be sure to send you one. Okay. Sorry about that, and thank you for joining. And yeah, no worries. Jill, how are you? Josephine, hey, I'm early. It's a miracle. Good morning. Yeah, that's awesome. Plumpy Lump, how are you doing? Christine, how are you doing from Australia? Cool. Hey, Logan, I'm gonna have your paintings here too, of course. Liz, the journal Magpie, hi from the UK. Hey, Kapala, how are you doing? Tom, oh weird, my ad blocker, sorry to hit the chat. Not been to live stream in a while. Yeah, I read your email, Tom. So we're gonna look at some paintings, a painting by Tom too. I was happy you said you will be able to join. Hey Megan, how are you? Let me move this a little back. Lumpy Lump, feel free to throw one of mine on the stream if there's any extra time. Can't wait to see pen stuff. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jan, you got it. And sorry for that's an issue on my end. Sorry about that. Hey Chuck, how are you? Javijav, Josh, Christine, Richard, Ovidiu. Lean, hi from Belgium. Don't have a painting entered for critique. Is that for patrons or everyone? Everyone here can send me an email, and if we have enough time, I'll go over as many as we can. Okay, hopefully we can get at least all the ones I have lined up. JAC Jack says, good morning, Liron. Greetings from Argentina. Hey, Luis, how are you? I miss watching your live streams. Been busy with school lately. Yeah, everyone's been a little busy, but still really nice amount of people usually show up, so I'm happy about that. Tom, thank you for reminding everyone, if you can, hit the like button. It helps this live stream reach more people. Hey, Eleanor. Hey, Sharif. Hey, Sashiria. Sorry for a bit of background noise. I do want to keep leave the window open. But if it's too bad, let me know. I played around with the noise reduction. Hopefully it works well. Hey Viswa, how are you? So yeah, I think we can get going. because we have quite a lot to go through, and then we can go back to the chat. So let's see what we have here. So I'm actually going to start with Will's paintings. So Will actually sent me this quite a while ago, I believe, way before I even announced this video, and I kind of haven't gotten to respond. Now is a good opportunity, and he said it's okay for it to be on the video. So Will, great work. I love this one. It's a good one to get started on because I had some time to look at it and to ponder it. So one thing I do want to commend you on is the color harmony, because what we have here is a very good, clean use of colors. And it's really visible in the way you handle the water and the sky. Now, I think you went too extreme for my personal taste, though it is a matter of taste too. But I think overall turning the painting in its entirety, giving it an even kind of vibe to it with a bit of warmth is a good decision. It's something I do a lot. So here are a couple of things. I'm going to try and do these real quick because we do have a lot of paintings to go through. And let me move myself here. So that's my bad. Wait a second, let me find it. This should be here instead so that I don't obstruct paintings. And let's actually move down here. Good. Really want to put myself here, but that won't. Maybe I'll make this smaller, and here we go. We're good to go. Good. So yeah, so the advantage here is that I can actually draw over things and show you kind of what I would do differently. So I'm gonna give it to you straight, a couple of tips to improve. One thing is I would use a bit stronger of a blue for the sky and water, just to get a bit more contrast of temperature. So again, that's a great baseline for the entire painting, but on top of that, you can add a bit of strong blue to really get a nice contrast in temperature. So not only do you have warms, you also have cools. I think that would have been a nice little thing to do. So if we have this kind of blue here, I'm not saying use the same blue, but I am saying it could enhance the painting. Actually, we can go ahead and just get a bit of a larger size brush. I'm using Photoshop right now, not Clip Studio Paint, because Photoshop is more meant for image editing, but just something like that, you see. And for the sky, I'd probably go with a bit of a nicer... where's my color picker? There is... Here? I have no idea. Now I'm lost my bearing. Color. Good. So I'd probably go for something a little happier, so like that, and that could bring a nice balance for the entire scene. Okay, nothing too strong, just a touch. Now, one more thing I would say, and let me reorganize my space here. I'm not used to there we go. I'm not used to using Photoshop on the tablet, but I usually edit on the computer and use the Clip Studio Paint for my tablet. But in any case, this brings me to the next big issue. If you look at a reference photo, one thing that is really obvious is that contrast between the sky and the building. And that's something you kind of lost here. And you lost it because you didn't go dark enough with the sky. Now, the thing that people struggle with, and you want to listen to this, everyone, because this is something you probably have some issues with. Sometimes the thing that people have an issue with is they think, okay, if I go darker on the sky, I get the nice contrast with the building, but then the trees aren't dark enough to contrast with the sky, because I went darker with the sky. So to kind of ease your worries, these trees right here are actually pretty close in value to the sky, which is why they mix so much. They look like one thing. So I wouldn't necessarily try and get every contrast in the scene. I wouldn't necessarily try and get the building to contrast with the sky, to contrast with the trees, to contrast with the water. Pick your battles, pick your contrasts. So if you got a nice contrast with the building and you got less of a contrast with the foliage, that's perfectly fine. So your trees become very similar value to the sky, maybe a touch darker, and the color of the trees is what creates the contrast. Because don't forget, contrast is not only in value, it can be in color, in temperature, a bunch of other things. And what this will do, going a little darker and stronger on the sky, will also get you a nice contrast of temperature right around here with that roof. And that looks so nice. And you can see it here in the reference photo. You have this white, blue, orange, and all three look really, really nice. So if I sample this color, for example, that's not how you sample in Photoshop. I'm used to Clip Studio Paint. Let's remove the touch here. Like this, like that. Look at this nice contrast with the sky, right? Just works really well. And both the sky and the rooftop are fairly muted. So I think that's a good kind of point to have in mind. I think that's a great one to get us started with. This is pretty much everything I have to say. Of course, some details could be better, some shapes could be better, but overall, great job. I think this is a successful painting for sure. Not every painting you'll create is going to be amazing. And I remember a lot of paintings I created that were just my personal average. And you learn to love them because then you start getting a baseline from which you can strive to try out different things and challenge yourself. Right? I hope that makes sense. And I think that's a really good example for a good kind of critique. Will, I hope you'll listen to this, and I hope that helps. If you're here and I'm reviewing your painting, feel free to let us know because it makes things a little more fun. And by the way, in the Patreon private one-on-one critiques, that's pretty much what we're doing because people ask about that. So, who else has joined us? Lean says, I love it. All media and substrates, or just watercolor, or some other guidelines to follow. Do you refer to this critique session? I'm keeping it limited to watercolor, but honestly, we can open it up in the future. Just for organization's sake, let's leave it around watercolor this time. If you're talking about the Washtober, you can use whatever you want. Plumpy, I love these trees. Awesome job. Indeed. Keller Mecenas, hi from Brazil. Tattoo Tank, yo, what's up? How are you doing? Big Hard Books and Classics. Alan here from Portland, Oregon. Thank you for being here. Maria, hello from Vancouver. Lollipop Strawberry, how are you? Dwayne, how are you? Hope everything is well with you too. Chuck, painting is like a life, you take the good with the bad. Yep, indeed, and there's plenty of good here. So let us move on to Sven's work. So Sven sent me quite a few paintings. No references, which, by the way, it's my bad. I should have reminded you to send references as well, but that's fine. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the opposite order. I numbered this one number 1. Let's get to it. I won't always have anything brilliant to say, so let me start with kind of what I'm seeing. Because off the top of my head, I really, really like this one. I actually don't have much to say in terms of critique. One thing that I want to commend you for is the water. I think the water here turned out killer. Like, really, really nice. Now, there is a specific reason for that. And it's not even necessarily the ripples, aka the shadow of the boat. What I love is how you did all of these ripples right here and right here. The reason for that is I get a lot of, like, you see the underlayer of the more, let's get this to be smaller. You see that wet and wet, right? Let's choose a color that's not like the worst to contrast. You can see a lot of the wet and wet done underneath. And then it combines with the harsher edges. That's something that I love. Right, that's something I really, really like. And even here where the timing is maybe a little off, this happens when you go a little too late wet and wet, so you end up spreading the paint that was already there. Even then, it has a lot of grace to it because it wasn't fully too late. So one thing I love seeing is that contrast of edges within water. Just a beautiful thing to behold. Something about the sky bugs me a bit. I'll tell you what I think. So generally speaking, you have some really nice, let me do this, some really nice color harmonies here. I love this red and how it meets these blues. Here's where I feel like things could have been done better. I would actually either mute down this blue or even go for like a golden muted color. So almost like a gray, but golden, maybe even closer to what the sail looks like. The reason is, and even before I mentioned like two slightly different blues, but these are very different, and I feel like if you just, let's say, obstruct all the top section, everything works really well in harmony. And here, this is a bit outside that very organized harmony you achieve. Now, this could be just me, and I may be a little off on that, because I do like the way the flag looks, but something about how diluted it is doesn't work for me. So not really like something you could do a lot with, but hopefully that gives you some direction. One more thing, and again, I don't have the reference, so it's hard to just guess. I love the birds, love the movement you achieved there, and actually you did some nice subtle things here. I don't know how, like, on purpose that was, but you see this? Like, the way you handled, I would say these 3 birds, but pretty much every bird here, like this split shape, that's really clever. I love that. It's really nice because it almost hints that there's something here in the middle, like maybe the bird catches the light or something like that. I like that the marks are varied. It's not all the same type of bird. You have one that's more towards this side, one that's more towards this side. Really, really good. As for the, like, this blue and red are perfect. Absolutely love these. In terms of the details on the boat, while I'm not a big fan of just details for the sake of details, I do think you could have had it a bit more punchy and clear, because right now, like, I see this ledge here on the right and the left side of the boat, and I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. It looks like it almost surrounds it from the side, but like, what about this side? Does it not have one? You know, all of these things to really try and understand what you're drawing. I do see some use of opaque paint, which I actually really like here. I believe you added this highlight with opaque paint. Looks really good. That was a good move, I can tell. I would try, maybe a dumb idea, but I would actually show a bit more of that red, only go like a little more in the shadow, something like this. You don't have to, but I think, and if you maybe mute it down a bit, I went a little overboard here, but something like that would maybe even, you know what, maybe even just the front where it's close to the light, and then slowly, you know, I could do this. Let me show you. Something like that. See, that's really nice looking. But yeah, overall, great job. A lot of things I like here. Let's move on, because we have 4 by Sven. I'm going to try and take it a little faster for the next couple of ones. I didn't plan on closing, but whatever. This looks excellent. So I believe, is that a study based on someone else, like Tim Wilmot or someone like that? Because I do recognize a bit of it. And if I'm correct, it just goes to show you how, like, the signature style of an artist is really visible, though I may be mistaken. That's not based on my tutorial, right? Because I have a tutorial with a similar scene, but not that. Colors, I love them. You know, the way this turquoise actually blends here, I think is much better than the way you had the sky earlier. So yeah, like it a lot. Would I change some stuff? Maybe make the people a little clearer. One thing I'm wondering is, you know what could be interesting? Actually, I usually give people the opposite advice, but this green you have in the background, which is the blue and a bit of yellow and a bit of red, it's a very muted green. How about trying to bring out some of its cleaner version? And that's a very different from what I'll usually say, but so if you grab this, get it to be a little cleaner, and maybe hint, like, go darker maybe, but just have it feel a little cleaner. You see what I mean? A bit more green in some spots, maybe in the closest part, or maybe this part, or something like that. That could be a nice way of breaking, because that green is very brown, like there's a lot of red introduced to it. It's a very specific color, and I feel like it's just very repetitive throughout. Of course, it's a blue, but you can tell you've added yellow to that. Maybe something like that, but that's a bit of nitpicking. One final thing, a bit more organization in the shadows. So you have, let me even sample your own color here, and you have all of these wires and riggings and whatnot. Why not justify them with a shadow, like a clear shadow? And it probably should be a little lighter, so let me give it a try. with something like that, darker, because that's what you have actually. See, just something to justify that wire. See, that just puts it in the right context, makes it a little like it means more. That's something I would pay attention to. Other than that, I love the shapes of your boats. They're really, really nice. Let's see what's going on in the chat, and then we will continue. I'm going to close the paintings I'm done with. Water's amazing. David, how are you doing? Shilpi, how are you? Peshkaline, how are you? Tom, boats on the beach are great indeed. Oleferous, Liron, it's been way too long, my bad, but I've stayed up to say a quick hello and warm wishes. I hope you're well and love your progression this last year. Great work, my friend. Thank you so, so much, Oleferous. I hope you've been doing well too. Tom says, I burnt out of birds last year, but even though I know it's a bad idea, I'm very tempted by Washtober. Interesting prompts. Yeah, I'm wondering how I'm gonna approach this, because I don't know if I'll be able to paint every day. Maybe I'll batch it. Hey Jennifer, hey Dazzling Action. Yeah. And Lefteris, I'm gonna have your painting too. Hello from Greece. And hey Jazzy, Fezzy, hope you're doing well. So yeah, let's continue with Sven's. So these two, no, this is Richard, we'll get to that. These two remind me of a painting I did, and I'm not sure, I don't think, especially this one, but I don't think it's based on that. So a couple of things, and this is actually, I can relate to this because I make mistakes similar to what you made here, which could be considered mistakes. So one thing I would love to see is a bit more, once again, clarity in the shadows. This, I really like, this area. But within all of these shadows, a couple of things you can do. I do see some variety, like there's a bit of red here, there's more blue there, but a bit more organization. So kind of deciding on one trajectory of where it's going to be warm, where it's going to be cool. And you did do some of that here. Like from the back to front, it's a very clear, slightly bluish lilac all the way to the front. I'm missing just a bit of balance with the purples, because this entire thing is very purple. This actually happens to me a lot because my yellows weren't the right ones and I ended up not adding enough of them. Now, I don't know, this could be a case of, you know, you did it on purpose, that's how you wanted it, but just know that with a bit of gray, you can really balance out some of these purples, and actually the gray will look a little warm next to them just because there's so many of these purples. If you just give it a hint of warmth even, it's gonna look yellow almost, right? So I would love to see, there is a lot of it here, but it feels very purple. I don't know if that's on purpose, like the baseline is purple and the rest is varied. So just a thought to have. One more thing I would say is a bit more confidence in the shadows. Like don't worry about doing these swooshes, right? Because I see here it feels a little timid. All of these lines coming out of the poles, go for it. Like, don't be scared. Put that line, you know? I see this here too. Lack of confidence in the shape, you know, just go for it. Don't be scared. Or I don't know, maybe it's just me seeing things, but that's kind of my feeling that I'm seeing here. So let's move on to another one. Yeah, so this is quite similar to the previous one. So I'd say pretty much the same advice applies. One thing, I don't know if it's the paper, but this foreground shadow that happened on the previous one as well, a bit patchy. It actually looks really good in my opinion, but if you do want to get a smoother result, either better paper, more water, and gradually build it up and get it darker, wet and wet. And if you can get it in the first wash, it's better. What I feel like is maybe you got it in the second wash and it's a bit harder to blend. So just my 2 cents. Now, let's move on. So I actually want to just make sure we're going by order. Good. So now we're with Richard. Quite a lot of paintings. So here, this is interesting. I see a lot of things that remind me of the previous one. So what I'm lacking here is a bit of variety and temperature, right? I think you did a really fine job with the shapes, the shadows. The shapes are interesting. Like even the color harmony is pretty much there. It's a feels like very sunsetty painting. This section right here, and as you say, take the good with the bad. This section is perfect. What I would call perfect. Why? Because this red to me, that's not a red. This red to me is incredibly the fitting. Like, I loved it. That's exactly what I would envision this red like in this kind of scene. This blue is also beautiful. It's a very muted blue. In fact, my color wheel drops it in the yellow, so it's probably more of a gray, which in this context looks quite a lot like a blue. But that's exactly the point. So what I'm missing is just a hint of blue. So if we can grab that similar gray, but maybe in the blue side of things, I think that would create a very nice color harmony. See, now, where I mostly would want to see it is even down here. I think down here would make a very nice impression, even push it a bit further. Make a very nice balance. You see there? Just a bit of it. Probably do it a little more even. I'm just trying to figure out which one I want. I don't need the red one, maybe the warm, like maybe even a cool one. Look at how nice that fits into the scene, and it brings out some additional dimension in it, right? So that's something I love seeing. This is the exact blue I refer to. This put it in the perfect balance. I wonder if here as well. No, here I'd keep it the same probably. But that's so nice, and you'll see a lot of artists just splash these onto a wet wash, which is fine. It's a bit gimmicky. I don't think you should splash or anything, but I like the presence of it in my peripheral vision. Okay, hope that makes sense. Richard, hope that helps. It's quite Liron-y too. That's funny, yeah. Let's see here. So I hope that helps, Richard. Oh my god, it changes so much. I love it. Yeah, it's all, think of it as volume knobs, right? And it's all playing around with the temperature till it's just right. To be honest with you, I think you could get away with that same blue. Let me try something here. And just include some of it even here. Maybe instead of like a white highlight, make use of a bit of that blue here, you see? Almost to enrich these highlights. Right, I don't know what you think about that, and sorry, I'm gonna draw all over people's paintings, right? It's not disrespect, I'm trying to help, because I feel like sometimes bad about sketching all over it, but you see, just if you look at this, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with the original. I think you struck a really nice balance, but then you add a bit more of a dimension to it, okay? So just my 2 cents, and everyone feel free to screen capture if you want to incorporate some of the advice. So let's move on to, let me close this one. It's okay. We're closing the ones we're done with. And sorry, Tom, we're going to get back to yours in just a moment. I do want to go, or maybe I won't go by order. Okay, we'll finish Richard's paintings and then we'll move on. So, 2 main things I would say here, and they have to do with contrast. One, I am missing contrast on the leaf. So the way I would imagine it is probably like a very similar, maybe a bit even reddish, you know, kind of maple leaf. But I would imagine it to be a little stronger, actually. You know? Just so that it creates some contrast with the face. That's kind of how I saw it. Now, I don't know if it's a mistake. That's how it was in the original one. Probably even more muted and darker, something like this. You see, that's close to the paint you have here. That would be nice. Now, the previous advice I gave you with the blue, same thing goes here. Maybe a touch of it, maybe in the darks. But here's the one thing I noticed quite a bit. So you really have to think about your edges. One of the most prominent edges in this painting, where is it? Okay, and that's like a pop quiz to everyone in the chat. Hey Josh, I have to head out to work. I'll try and tune in if you're still on. Yeah, definitely, and I'll leave it up on the channel. So pop quiz, where is the strongest contrast in this painting? Give it a few seconds, and if you manage to figure it out, it's here. Right around that transition from the black to the skin tone. So here's the thing. Whenever you have this very harsh transition, just a bit of blurriness can go a long way to play around with the edge for variety's sake, but also for compositional quality, let's say. So if you can just blend a bit of it out, it won't be as harsh as it is right now. See what I mean? And that can really help bring the focus to her face, you know, put things in the kind of correct, I guess. You look at the difference. Again, this before, very jarring, and after. I don't know what that extra light is, but before and after, see? And that's like the line is in the right place. It's all about how do you play around with it to make it as satisfying to the eye. And that's subjective. Again, the most satisfying to the eye for me will be different from other people, but that's what I see. Now, this eye could be a great place to make use of a bit of a grayish blue. So even if you increase it by a little, you can create a nice little contrast, right? I hope that makes sense. Let's see. And if I see paintings where it's the same advice, I'll probably skip something. Sorry, it keeps jumping to yours. Tom, it's telling me something. Ooh, this is nice. Yeah, this is nice. So great subject selection. I love how there's strong contrast. That contrast leads you and you can see it. Here you got the blue and warm and cool, very nice. I would consider actually making the water a little warmer to distinct them from the person. Maybe a bit, but you don't have to. That's very nice. From the head too. So my gut tells me that some of the water at least has to be darker in the original reference photo. That's something that, you know, who knows, right? But usually when you take a photo of water from above, that's what you get. It's very rare for this, you know, this ledge or whatever you want to call it, to be lighter than the, not lighter, but rather almost darker than the water or the same value. That's something you may want to look into. Again, without the reference, I can't tell for sure. White gaps, you know, watch these. Just be more careful with the brush and figuring out where it stops. Not at the price of, you know, you losing track of the looseness and everything, but it's a balance, because I think you got nice looseness here. You got the nice technique, so I'm not worried about that. So that's pretty much everything I'm seeing here. Tom, we're gonna move to yours after Richard's, because it keeps jumping to yours, and you're here. I want you to, I want to see. Yeah, you definitely hacked my Photoshop. What did you do? But yeah, I don't know why it loves to go back to the last one. Now if I close it, it will go to the, but whatever, we'll figure it out. So yeah, this photo is a little hard to see. Let's do image adjustments. Where's my auto levels? Auto contrast. I forgot how to do auto level. Is it Control L? No, it's not. Is it this? Is it that? Oops, okay. Opened up the level. I'll just play around with it myself. Okay, we'll do it manually. Yeah, okay, it's a bit hard to see due to the paper's texture. I don't have much to say, but I will say I like that your shapes are confident. Like, you put them in, you decide that's gonna be the chef's hat, that's the chef's hat. It's a bit hard to see though, so I'm probably gonna skip that one. And the pigs, oh, I love these. Okay, yeah, these I love. So it's interesting, it's kind of the same thing with the water. I feel like the ground here should probably be a little darker, though I think you made good use of the background compositionally despite that. So this here, great contrast with the pig's butt. That's dark and light. This here, it's a little darker, so you kept the background light. You kept the shadows light, which the light background enabled you to do that. So I'm actually a big fan, you know, if it's for the sake of the message of the painting and the tale, it's funny. If it's for the sake of the paintings, you know, how much the painting is pretty and speaks to you and all of that, I'm a big fan of changing some stuff. So I do like that a lot. Again, you could introduce a bit more coolness, a bit more blue if you want to in some spots. But just a thought, I love how this ear is a little stronger, because that's a very common occurrence where ears are thin, light shines through them, you see the redness of everything underneath the skin. That's actually a very nice sketch if that's how it is in the reference photo. Love it. Your washes, I'll give you that too. They flow really nicely. Like this, I love these shapes. Really, really nice. Richard, you're doing really well. I've been seeing a lot of progress. I've seen this one obviously on Instagram before you even sent it to me today or yesterday. But yeah, okay. We're gonna go to Tom, because Tom sent us just one, so we're gonna get through that. And Tom, first off, you did an amazing job. And this is plein air. Not a surprise, because plein air it just brings out something. Now, we do have the reference here, so why not do a side by side? So let me just do this for a second. Canvas size, and we'll just double the canvas size to 20. And then this annoying magenta convert, and let's move here. It's a bit of an awkward way of doing it, but it will work. And we'll get the reference, because I do have a few good pointers for you. And let's also just make sure, where are my layers? They're down here. Why are they down here? I feel so old. Let me, like, why wouldn't this expand? So annoying. I'm just gonna, you know what? I can move Photoshop to a different monitor just for a second. And then bring back my layers. That's annoying, because I do want to. That's super annoying. Like, why does it go? Thank you so much. Okie doke. Bring it back here, because I need it in my tablet to draw on it. So all I wanted to do was make sure that the levels here and the colors and everything is on point, and I see it accurately. Image it just auto. Let's do everything. Not auto tone. I hate that. Auto color. Good. Auto contrast. And then let's just make sure. Yeah, that looks to be. I'm just making sure the photo is closest to what it probably looks like in real life. Probably. Okay, so a couple of things I see here. First off, great job, and of course, great job for challenging yourself to do plein air. That's not easy. It's always a challenge. One thing you did really well is that mountain ridge right here. I need to get used to Photoshop. I'm so used to Clip Studio Paint. Okay. That mountain ridge right here, congrats for not making it prominent, because that's something that very often happens. People go super dark. And that hill too, like the way you got it wet and wet is perfect. Here's where maybe some of the balance is hurt, but I'm a little hesitant to say it, because I actually really like the way it looks. It's almost like you have two focal points here, one being the foreground and then this row of trees, which actually works. You know, if you want to make it, add a bit more finesse to it, I would go a touch lighter on the trees. I would not go blended. I would keep them wet on dry like you have here, because it looks so good. But maybe go just a touch lighter, right? So if that's your value here, I would probably bring it up to, no, even more, something like that. We'll still contrast with the background very nicely, but just make it a little less competing with the foreground. Okay, does that make sense? Here, yeah, good, because now I can actually follow what you're saying. Okay, good. So that's one thing. Now, one thing I'm missing, and that may be a personal kind of thing, but I do like the presence of yellow, and I feel like you gave that up and in return got a muted green. Nothing wrong with that. Some will argue it organizes the painting a little better, but I would actually try and get that Ruth barking at the wind. I'd actually try, maybe, let's go a little more extreme on the yellow, because I'm doing this over an existing layer. You know, just a bit of yellow would go a long way. It just gives it a bit more of a, I don't even know what to call it. You know, just a bit of warmth. A bit of warmth there. Not much. You don't need much because it's the background, right? Now, on the other side, you still want this to pop, right? I think, because you see here, like these, and I love these types of stone fences. I love that. There is a bit of contrast between the yellow and the light here. Like you see how this is actually a, come on, this here. If I take that color, it's lighter than the background, right? So by going a little stronger on the yellow, you can even bring out that natural highlight that is there. If I go back to here, you see how it's not as prominent, but once you, without that less smudge, right? But once you go here, it makes the highlight on the fence pop just a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of ochre-y, but just because you're painting it over another layer, that's something you need to kind of take into consideration. I don't know what's up with my Photoshop. Gone a little crazy. Let me try and, there we go. I don't know what that was. But yeah, now one more thing. And this is very common. I see this all the time. The wall itself, it's very purple, right? The way you painted it. Now, actually, there's something nice to it being purple because it contrasts with the background's gold and yellow. But maybe varying it with the actual color of it, which is, depends where you sample it. Like in the sun, it's going to be this browny reddish, right? You see how it keeps me, if you look on the right side here, you'll see how it keeps me in that kind of range. Here it's a bit more cool, which is fine. You could either break off that purple into variations with a bit more blue and then with a bit more red. But what I feel like here is that this lacks a bit in the foreground. It's a bit too purpley for my taste. Now again, this could be personal taste thing. I feel like just a bit of it would go a long way. Now, one thing I really like, and this is where, so this is where you bring your own interpretation to it. You don't have to, but notice this little tiny yellowy flower. If you could just grab that, see, right here, nice little bright yellow, and just drop a bit of it here in the foreground, that would look really, really nice. That could actually give me the yellow I was missing earlier. That could actually be the solution to some extent. So you see how it just brings more life to the foreground, and it doesn't have to be, and you actually got it with the grass and weeds, right? That you got really well with opaque paint. Just a bit of that can go a long way, and have it yellow. So you'd use something like a neutral, but not neutral, slightly opaque, but warm yellow. So don't be tempted to use yellow ochre for this because it won't be visible. You'll need to use something like a Hansa, but something opaque. Okay, so just my 2 cents on that. Let's see what you're saying actually. Yeah, warmer shadows are tough for me. I think I've substituted purple for actual warm but dark. Yeah, okay, that's a great insight. So just if you vary it up a little, I can even grab like a smooth brush and even just get a bit of that kind of, I don't want to go too dark. See, one thing I like about how you did it is that you didn't go dark as it is in the reference photo, which I actually appreciate. I like that. But just in terms of like maybe a bit more of the blue showing, right, in some of the shadows, or maybe even make it grayer than I have here. So see, quite gray. And then just if you get that reddish chestnut kind of thing here and have that be, oops, that's be totally darker still, that will be a little more dominant here in the highlights. You see, that just puts the kind of color in a bit more balanced light. Okay, so whenever you end up with big patches of purple or violet and big patches of green, think to yourself, it's a nice contrast, right? It looks good, your values are pretty much on point, your shapes look really nice. Congrats on capturing that harsh transition, which not everyone notices. That sharp, triangular shape, that's really, really nice, right? You get this here, that's a sharp shadow. Whenever you have that, everything is purple, just kind of force yourself to go a little gray. Gray is your solution. Add more yellow. Maybe you'll need to bring in another yellow. in addition to the one you're using, because that could be the cause of it. Okay, just a few things to have in mind. Going to try again. Curious if it'll feel different with indoor light instead of bright. Yeah, but definitely I like that you did go for colors here, and you can tell this was done plein air. I can see the courage in using a lot of colors, right? But all of these small little fixes or improvements, just in my opinion, amount to something that looks a little bit more polished. Yeah, happy that helps. Let's see what you're saying here. Sense, good. And thank you, my pleasure, Richard. That's to think, where do we send our work, and does it matter if it's gouache and watercolor? Yeah, feel free to send gouache, it's okay. I'm trying to limit it mostly to watercolor, but that's okay. Use my email address, liron@lironyan.com. I'm gonna drop it in again. And that's where you can send the paintings. Hopefully we'll be able to get through all of them and then even do some email ones, okay? So let's proceed. Close this one now. And let's look at this. This is really nice. This is what I love seeing. This looks so good, you know. And what is this? A beer? That's the best. That's such a nice, relaxing setting. I love that. Okay. So let's see. So we have Alfie here. Let's do it. Oh, it's already alphabetically. That's why it jumps like that. Okay, so let's do Alfie and then we'll continue. So I don't know if you're here. And by the way, some people mentioned their Instagram. So Alf Sims is the Instagram. Like you can see it right here. It's just at Alf Sims. If you have noticed, if you have mentioned it and I noticed it, I will include it. And I actually can critique all of them together. Maybe these two together. First off, like, fantastic job. And let me know if you're here. By the way, I know I probably missed a few chat messages. So my apologies about that. Hey, David. I think I said hi. Okay, we'll continue. Sorry if I missed something, just feel free to let me know again. But like, look at the impression here. This is so good. There's a very strong sense of realism. And that's funny because this is like the perfect example of a painting where, to me, it's clear that the person wasn't necessarily trying to get every detail in, even though the leaves are very detailed, and that's something we'll touch upon in a second. But rather going with the shapes and the feel. The way I can tell is if you look at this area, and it's very consistent with Alfie's paintings that he sent. Look at the brighter green right around here. See that? Kind of a greenish yellow. And even in these, you can see it's a bit of a brighter, no, not that one blue. No, not that one. I don't know why I can't sample it, but in any case, yeah, that's slightly darker blue. That was closer. Let me zoom in a bit. So all of this area, yeah, it's a bit simple, but all of this area here, the colors are more saturated, and that gives me the feel like the sun is shining through that area. And I suspect it is because I see this in another one of your works right around this edge. So you have a very good understanding of like colors and values and how they handle in space. This tree, the brush marks look so good, you know? So two things that I see with your work that I would consider having. One of them is flow and shape organization. The second one would actually be drawing. So I feel like some elements in the drawing, you know what, I'm not even sure if that's fair critique, because I feel like sometimes the way you organize your shapes, I don't even know if it's a drawing skill or compositional skill, could be a little better and clearer. So for example, like this line here, the lower side of that fence, I'm not really sure how it moves. So maybe it's a matter of clarity. This here, I'm not sure, is that a river? Are we looking at water flowing? Because my gut tells me that if it is, it should be a little flatter, not as strong of a curve. But small things like that that make me think, okay, maybe there's something to work on in the drawing side of things. But then you have this beautiful, like, look at this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So you have all of these grays here that are slightly on the coolish side, but then you have this nice little brown and blue right next to one another. That looks so good. So you're following what you see in a very good way. You're following the colors, you're following the shapes, you're following the values. Everything looks really neat. I think the shapes could be organized a little more clearly, and I think those leaves, those tons of leaves that you go one by one painting, some of them could be just merged into one shape. So imagine if you go ahead and get this tree here. There's actually a neat trick I can show you. So we're going to duplicate this layer, and then we're going to do a filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I like to sometimes show this to students. And then we'll go with, I think that's good actually, like this. And then here's what, I'm going to grab this entire layer, and I'm just gonna, I added a mask basically. So grab black paint. The black paint is just gonna erase everything. Now here's what I want to show you. So imagine that just, this may be too harsh. Let me switch over to this. There we go, Control D. So imagine just some of these trees merged together like that. See? Especially around the edges of the painting. And look at how it just brings to better focus this tree in the middle. And we can actually improve it a bit. So I'm going to use an eraser. Just look at the clarity it creates, right? Like, you don't have to paint each and every leaf. You can if you want to, but so like I like the way the individual leaves. Second, I like the way they look here around this area, but I don't like them as much here. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Here it's too in my face in a way, and here at least you have some unification in them. Okay, this is nice. This actually is a nice negative painting around the foliage. So I'm being a little harsh or nitpicky because these are amazing. Like, these are very good looking paintings. It's clear that you're driven by what you see, and because a lot of people try to force what they think is there on over what's there, and then they end up with an unrealistic impression. You actually go the other way. You really see things clearly, and then you paint it as you see it. So if you just do these nuances, it's going to be amazing. So let's look at the other one. Here's same thing. That was the main thing that popped for me. This area, the back here. Try and mute them down a bit by blending more. Give it a go. See what happens. Like, try and get some very blended shapes. I'm not saying you have to do it this way. Maybe this is your way, right? Just something to have in mind. Now, the last one, another favorite of mine. This so nice. The sun shines through the trees. So if you look at this, right, to all the people that I say your use of greens could improve, right? People struggle with greens. People have trouble getting their greens to look good, to look balanced. You know, maybe it's too bright of green. It looks a bit amateurish. This here is the perfect example of how to use greens. To me, I cannot think of something better. And if you zoom out, you see the answer. This is quite realistic. So you have everything here. The sky, unlike what a lot of people do, they go very strong and very, it looks a little amateurish. You actually went for a muted color. It has the same yellows and the same greens, the same reds throughout the scene. Look at this beautiful dark green that's very muted, very brown. I'm just going to sample some colors for you to see. So you have this, you have some darks here, you have some greens, you have some of these, you know, brighter. You have just about anything here. This little yellow here looks super good, right? Some of this here. It just looks fantastic. So yeah, get that range, right? There's some muted, just the balance is killer. You even have here a bit of browns, but hidden right inside here. You see these browns a little stronger on the red even. This is so nice. So nice. So this is like the perfect example of how you do want to use greens. I hope that helps, and I hope you're here, Alfie. I'm not sure though. But yeah. So this one's by Bahir. That's another nice one. We're gonna get to that in just 1 second. John says, I love how lush this one looks. Now the fence is getting engulfed by the plant. The overgrown. Yep. And there's something nice. Oh, Alfie, here you are. Sorry, yeah. I'm here, but I'm at work, so just dropping in and out. Yeah, no worries. Okay, did you mention that earlier? I don't remember. Sorry if I missed it or if I forgot. But yeah, you can watch this After Effect more in a row. You know, I've been a bit nitpicky because this work is so good. It's so good. Just a few small touches, and I think you'll strike a better balance for yourself. Okay, I'm not even talking about necessarily my taste. I want you to experiment with that bit of better balance. Okay, but yeah, Annie just sent my artwork. Thank you so much. We'll check it once we're done with everything. I'll go and grab some more paintings, and we'll see. Vagabond, hey there. Hope you're doing well too. Megan says, I don't have any recent work. I've been back from vacation for 3 weeks and still haven't painted. Yeah, no, it's okay. Okay, 3 weeks isn't that long of a time frame. So, Bahir, I'm gonna zoom out a bit because I want to show you something really nice. This painting here is quite realistic. This is really, really nice. So, what I think gives it that is you have a nice range of values and a good representation of that time of day and that weather. So we got some of the lights here, we got some of the gentle mid values and slightly stronger mid values, and we got some darks. All the nice range here that works really, really well. The values are on point, the colors are on point. It's a good balance of warm and cool, like really good balance, you know, yellows and blues. It just works together really well. But then you didn't neglect the reds, so I do see a bit of reds in these foliage. Even this sun ray, that's more towards the red, you know, you see this kind of a thing here. So I'm gonna give you 2 things to have in mind and maybe think about improving. One would be the technique, because I do recognize some washes that are a little patchy and some like lifting where you try to lift it here. I think it's sunshine, right? A bit too, it's too, you know, it's not enough, not sharp enough, and you could get this nice while it's still wet, that kind of lifting. Also, the way you render foliage, like right here, could be, I think, a little more organic feeling. But that's not an impression breaker at all. It looks really good. Like, look at this area here. It looks so good. So that would be the first one. The second one, it feels like maybe just drawing. It's the same thing as with everyone. It's gestures and it's structure. So the obvious one is structure. So it feels like this people, and it's a very common thing where people have a weakness when it comes to drawing people accurately. Like the view looks good and everything, but then the people just make a little less sense. And even though this isn't really it doesn't stand out a lot because it's pretty solid, like in terms of like it makes sense that this light goes here and this one goes back, like the distances and proportions are good, but within them just a bit more structure would feel right. Like to really like imagine the way this leg is. Now I'm not saying you draw that cylinder at all. Maybe that's something you practice separately and then bring into this, okay? And just practice it the way I show you the normal way, and it will translate to more accurate drawings. Now the second thing is gestures. So you actually have some nice gestures here, like this flow of the river. It's very, very nice. Sorry about that. Someone's exploding their exhaust for some reason. but within some of your shapes, I would love seeing a bit more of a clean flow. And I see it in many spots. Again, here as well. But then, like, this feels a little undecisive to me, right? So maybe some of it could be simplified into cleaner shapes, because you already have very detailed jagged edges, right? Which is good, because that's how these edges should look, right? But then to balance it out, have gesture lead you in some cases, right? Gesture can even come in the form of trees, so if you get something cleaner here, but just your branches, you can still tell the story in a very effective way without doing tons of these on the edge of the painting that sometimes can be a bit distracting, right? So if you could go a little lighter on these, I think I should be able to do that with the dodge tool, maybe. Let's see here. It's been a while since I used these tools. Exposure, make it stronger. Yeah. Bit of sponge, maybe two, I'm not sure. But like, just to get this a little lighter right around here. Maybe I could just do this. Get this brush, get a light paint. I'm just trying to show you like what this will actually translate to in practicality. Just to hide, let's do, see, just make it a little lighter, less prominent. Will keep me more in the center of the painting. But really, really good job. This one is like, that's the best place you can be, because it actually looks super realistic from afar, which means you get the values accurately, you get the colors accurately, probably your drawing overall is pretty accurate. These are small touches and small things to improve. One more thing I would probably do, but that's super just my kind of thing. I would probably, because you have blues and reds on and yellows on them, I would personally, put just a bit of red somewhere, like one of their beanies or something like that. That would be just a cool little addition, right? It doesn't have to be this strong of a red, could be something like this. I don't know, it just looks fun. Maybe the backpack even, just to break it off a bit, but that's a personal taste kind of thing. I hope that makes sense. Let's see what you're saying in the chat, then we'll go back and look at some more. We don't have too many more, I hope. We have a lot more to go, but yeah. Now let's see. Oddish, new here, cool artwork, everyone. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the kind words. Perspective on the figures is on point 2. Yeah, one thing that, like, I have to commend you, this is a high angle, and you actually have everything pretty much conform to perspective. So this tree goes like this goes like that. The people, you know, are at different angles, and everything connects, almost everything connects really nicely to a higher angle, right? With a vanishing point somewhere way, way below the painting, right? And I'm sorry if I'm being a little nitpicky for paintings I feel like are more polished or finalized, because it just shows the potential, right? So now we have code M4. We're going to go over 4 of these. Alfie, thank you for the kind words, Liron. The one with the sunshine that you said has the perfect greens is one of my more recent ones, so maybe that's why it's a little better. Yeah, and you know, the other ones, the greens honestly are great. I think that one was just a good showcase of a wide range. They were well balanced in all of the other ones too. But yeah, oh cool, yeah. So let's get to it. Cod M, I'm not sure what that's. I think you had a name in the email address itself, but I wasn't sure, so I just kept it like this. There you can see the signature. So this is based on my tutorial, really nice work. Love the range of colors you used. Love the you know, the nuance in them. So the blue, I can see it has a bit more gray in it. It has a bunch of different colors. When you look at the overall impression, I don't even remember exactly what mine looked like. It feels to me like the entire background's a little too warm and too light. So if you play on these two axes and you go with something that is kind of similar to what you have, but just go a little cooler there, more neutral, I would say, something like this. Or maybe you could do a bit this, but then keep it on a lower opacity. Let's try this. See something like that. So it's still a bit warm, right? There's still a bit warmth there, but it just feels more like a background. You've done a great job on creating the negative spaces around the flowers. That's something I think you did really, really well. And then lastly, yeah, I would say the flow a bit. You know, it's a bit patchy. It could be the paper. It could be you're not painting fast enough. Right out the gate, add more water to the wash. Really get it to be wet, and you'll get a bit of a lighter, you know, better transition. But here, you're here. Good. I will definitely subscribe for pay. Oh, thank you so much. You're on point. Thank you so much. Yeah, you've done a really, really good job. It's a very nice painting. So let's move on. I think it will jump again to the last one. So let's do that one. Okay, so I was reluctant. I'm like, it's more nudity. Hopefully they don't strike the stream or something for that. I don't know how YouTube does these things. Because it is a painting and mine are usually sketches. But in any case, good job. Again, without the reference, there's not much I can say, but my gut feeling tells me a bit more variety in edges and a bit more mid values. So what most people get wrong, and I can actually show this to you very easily. I'll just do new. I'll just create a canvas. So you get something like a, let's say, a shape of a ball, right? So you have a ball, and then what will happen is you'll get the dark, you get practically the area where light can no longer reach, right? So light comes from here, and then what happens is there's going to be a place that is fairly, I hope I'm not going into too many details, but this is important. I would have an easier time demonstrating this actually on a real piece of paper, but so we're digital for now. So I'm going to grab this mid value, right? And that's going to be everything that's like the core shadow, right? Everything that's in the shadow. Now within that shadow, I'm going to have a darkest area, right? And then, and this is a little too strong. Let's do this. Something like that, probably, right? And then within that slightly darker area, and I'll grab something that's kind of in the middle, we're going to have some reflected light. So I'll add a layer and I'll just do a bit of a lighter value. So some light's going to reflect off the side. And lastly, we're going to have obviously a smoother transition into the light. So something like this. Then you get a shape of a ball. Very awkward, but hopefully it works. Let's lower the opacity on the reflected shadow. So now, what most people make is the mistake of forgetting about all of the stuff that's in between, everything that is here, and just going for the darks and lights. That's very common. So you'll get have a lower opacity on that layer. So you'll get a ball, you'll get the shadow. And then maybe if you're lucky, you'll get a mid value. It's not really a mid value. And that's pretty much what you have here. So that mid value here, it's not strong enough. So I'd encourage you to go a little darker on that. Okay, that's usually what happens. And then edges. Don't forget edges, because even in this example I just showed you, there's this smooth edge, which you didn't get as well here. Now, it could be a matter of the size. It could be a matter of a lot of different things. But yeah, now if you actually look at it from afar, you got it quite nicely. Now, the thing that makes it feel a little detached from the background, like it's not there, like the person's not really there, it's that mid value. Just go stronger on that same color even, okay? It will make a pretty big difference. I would actually review shading in general in coarse shadows and establishing the shadows. Your placement is pretty good. It could be a little better, right? And smoother transition, especially from the black to the mid value. Smoother transition. That's a very unnatural transition. Because if you'd have that strong of a contrast, you'd also have a strong cast shadow and not that dark of a ground. Okay, so just a few more things to have in mind. Now we can move on to the next one. It's not my example. I hope that makes sense. Card M. Yes, we're still here. Good, good. So a couple of things here. Just feels like you didn't go into too many details, so it's kind of very, not abstract, I want to say, but very initial. So I'll judge it based on that. I will say that the colors are pretty nice. You have everything here, but the way you arrange them could be better. So I'd actually be a little more cognizant of foreground and background. So what you have here is very nice. You have some lights and warms in the foreground, but then you mixed in this strong yellow in the background. It really breaks the feeling of depth. Okay, so that would be, I think, one of the main things here. We'll talk about the drawing, of course, but this, like, in terms of color and how you set it up, you know, the values too, you could get them much more organized, right? The shapes, there's actually a lot to go over here. Here's what I would tell you to, I think would be a good, so I'm thinking, like, I really want to give you something that will bring you to a point where you can tackle this view and feel confident about it. So I'm thinking, what, I had this exercise. I'd actually want you to play around with monochromatic a bit. So if you like colors, I would just choose one color that you use here. Blue could be a good one. I would avoid yellow, green maybe, and do this whole thing monochromatically. Just that same color. And then what you'll get is, so if I do this, right, you get a bit of a clearer view of the balance. So for example, if you want to create a good overall balance of values, you'd have to, and I'm gonna try, let's do this. I'm gonna add a layer, I'm gonna lower the opacity. There needs to be some kind of a pattern of value. So for example, something like this, where the water gets a little stronger the closer it gets to us, right? For this patch of land, that's good actually, it should stay light. And then maybe some of these details in the foreground are a little stronger. Maybe you even have a few darker ripples in the water, but the thing that matters here is not the details, but the overall pattern. You see already there's a bit more of a sense of depth here, right? You could actually make this a little stronger, as long as you make these here a little stronger too, the rocks. And then go like that, right? So the entire organization of the painting, if you really want to create that sense of depth, that's how you do it. There has to be some sense to it, right? So you think about values, the farther things are lighter, the closer things are darker, okay? Think about, and your shapes are actually pretty good, and especially the horizon, this shape, and my shapes are this shape, that shape. The tree, too symbol-like, but we'll talk about that near the end. But the values need to make sense, right? Then once you add the colors in, they can start making sense too, so that you move from, you know, you either go from best practices, like the farther ones are a little cooler, the closer details are a little warmer, or you work more in the nuances of color, because of course you could have yellow in the background, and of course you can have blue in the foreground, but that comes later with a bit more experience. That's what I think, at least. Now, I had one more. Yeah, the trees, of course, the trees. So let me actually go back here. So now you see how the colors are a little messy in terms of foreground, background. It just doesn't serve the impression. That's my problem. Now, trees. The way you approach them is quite simple. You have this trunk and then branches coming out of it. That's fine. But in real life, the tree probably looks a little less symbolic and a little more organic, I guess. So you'll get something like, and let me not make this as dark. Let me even grab the same color. You'll probably get something that feels a little more organic, like this, right? Does this make sense? And then maybe you will catch like a stray branch or something like that, but it's still like the actual shape of the tree you see. So one of the biggest challenges, and it comes at every stage of painting, is nailing down the like what does it actually look like, as opposed to what's the symbol I already have in my mind that's pre-made for that, right? So the best example is always like a finger, right? So, and I have this happen to me all the time, like this is a finger, right? This is a hand, just a few fingers with a thumb, right? But a finger looks more like this, right? If anything, it has this 3D structure to it, but the thing we go to by default is just a symbol, right? So the same thing with a tree happens, right? I'm going into detail because I think there's a lot you can improve very fast. Like a month or two, you can be in a completely different place. So just my thoughts on it, right? Same for trees, same for hands, same for heart. But the heart is a symbol already. But yeah, I keep making this mistake. Like I'll look at my finger and then I'll end up drawing a sausage. But it's not a sausage, right? It doesn't look like this. There's some structure to it underneath. So just my couple of cents about this one. Let's move on to another one. So here you have a bit more of that organization and values, right? So I'm gonna turn it once again black and white, and you'll see like there's a bit more of a separation and organization in the values. Now here we run into colors, and this is the thing I've been talking about a lot. The way you organize your colors and the colors you use really matters. Okay, and by the way, Kadam, I'm not sure if you're here. Let me know, because I'm probably don't connect you to your actually username. So sorry about that. But yeah, so this is the plague of French ultramarine, right? And using it just pure as it is. That's one thing you want to be very careful with. Oh, I'm in hue mode. Nice. Okay, yeah, that's why it doesn't. How did I get here? Go to normal. You know, just using it as it is. Very bright greens, very bright blues in a way that hurts the impression. So what I would do is like neutralize everything in the background, right? Neutralize it almost completely. I wonder if there's a way for me to do this. Is there a desaturate mode with the brush? I don't know. If I go to saturation, will it desaturate or saturate? That's the question. Looks like it does a bit of everything here, honestly. I don't know, but in case, you know, you could do this, you could go like that. Just use saturation, just go on the low. Again, I want you to visualize it. Best way for you to visualize it is if I actually show you, right? So even just doing that puts this in a much better balance. Look at the difference between this and this, sorry, here, right? And here. Suddenly it feels like there's depth, a bit more depth. Now, you could go lighter on some of these details as well, right? And I would probably try and mix more. So this is why I love personally to use very organic color mixes. So this is why my palette is messy and everyone makes fun of me. I love to have very organic blues, reds, yellows. So my blue will have everything of the other colors. The question is the ratio. So it's going to be 80% blue and 20% the rest, or 70% blue, 30% the rest, right? But it's not going to be 100% or 99% blue like here, okay? And the green, again, varying it up with a bit of yellow, with a bit of, you know, all of this. This plays together. Harmonious colors and natural colors play together. They're very organic. You mix in a lot of colors together. So instead of mixing just the blue on the palette and using it as is, have something in your mind telling you, maybe I'll try adding in a bit of the other colors to that too, right? And the first example we've seen of the vase, that was a good example. That was a good example. There were some very saturated colors for the most part. That was an example for good balance, okay? Now, this next one is actually nice because this is based on, I don't know if it's based on my painting, but I definitely painted this. Here, you get to see cleaner colors, a bit more organic, right? More natural. I love that. That feels much, much better. Even the values are pretty much nice. You know, I wouldn't change too much about this. My thing is, if you look at it from afar, I do feel like some of the contrasts could be fixed to give it some depth. Okay, so if you actually want to give it some depth and a sense of three-dimensionality, we can give it a go now. In a pretty easy way, I'm just gonna go with... I'm gonna do this quick and then we'll move forward. But just to show you, that's a shadow. Like, the shadow should be quite clear, making the gap in the shadows clearer too, right? And that will give it... And I love how you don't go too dark, because that's another problem. That's something I've faced a lot in the past, of going too dark on my shadows. So I really appreciate you don't do that. And then this goes here. So this gives us just a bit more organization in the shadows. Now you have to ask yourself, okay, light comes from the right side, correct? So maybe some of my rooftops are going to be a little darker as well. Maybe some of these gaps in the buildings are going to be dark as well. Maybe this thing that doesn't face the light may end up being a little dark as well, right? And then maybe some of the, you know, the walls are barely visible, to be fair. I probably would not darken them this much. And then I feel like these rooftops should be a little more vibrant, like this one. So if you go even with a similar color and just give them a bit more of that strength, I think it'll look good. And then you can use the light coming from the right to your advantage and go ahead and switch, go a little smaller here, get this same kind of dark, and you'll probably get a very nice shadow right here, right? Between the rooftops and the windows, right? That's another thing you can take advantage of, or maybe some more gaps in the buildings, right? And then these windows and the people could probably go and be a little darker. So if I'll add another layer and do something like this, right? To capture some details within the shadows. Maybe some details on the rooftops, right? So just giving it a bit more, I guess, a bit stronger contrast. Organization-wise, again, I would probably go more stronger on the rooftops too, because they're diagonal. Some of them will catch the light, some of them won't. I actually don't remember what the reference looks like, so I can't really tell. But yeah, that's probably what I would go with. I don't remember. I think there was a diagonal shadow here, but I'll have to, you know, I'll look at the original. But you see just a bit more. This is a little flat, and once you do that, it gives it a bit more depth and a bit more three-dimensionality. Okay, so we're good. Let's see who is in the house, and we'll move on to Elizabeth. Sent me 3 paintings, very interesting works. Desaturating in the background does so much on its own. Indeed, Josh, that's true. Michelle, how are you? Yeah, I have your painting too here, if I'm not mistaken. Or not? I really remember I had your... Did we go over it? I don't think so. Let me make sure I opened everything up, because now the fact I don't see it worries me. Did you send me a painting? I don't remember now. But I'm pretty sure... I'm pretty sure you sent me one, but maybe I'm getting it confused. Now did I forget something? I'm not sure. I must be confusing it with an older email or something else. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know, but I'm happy that I probably have everything here. So good morning, Michelle. Rhyme says those look like Norfolk Island pines, which do actually look like that. Yeah, but still, even within the pines, because of the angle and their shape, you'll have some connection. I know what you mean. I'm sorry for painting on Elizabeth's painting, but you won't get like this kind of a thing. You'll get more like an overlap. So with some variation in it. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know the type of tree. Unless I got it wrong, I don't know. So yeah, okay. Elizabeth, 3 paintings. This one, I think this one's my favorite. I don't remember the others. We'll see. Yeah, okay, so this one's more zoomed in, obviously, and this one the drawing. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite. So does this have gouache? Is this gouache? Because it feels very gouachy. Just beautiful. You know, if you're looking for an example for a really good color harmony, there you go. So 4 colors here mainly: the blue, the purple, the yellowy orange, and the green. Now, what I love about this is you actually have the 3 secondary colors in a way, right? Because you have this this yellow for our purposes, which is an orange. You have this blue, you have this purple, and you have this green. So you have the 3 secondary colors that we can mix from our primary colors. So let's get a bit of this blue and a bit of this orange and a bit of this green, and look at how pretty these look together. And I do feel like they were either, you know, you used convenience mix or something like that, or you mixed them on your own, but it feels to me like they were mixed from the same, sorry, I missed the purple, I meant the purple. I feel like they were mixed from the same blue as this blue. So things work really well here. Now, you have very nice play with negative spaces, right? So the waves and how they're bordered, if that's a word, I don't know, by the background sea, whatever that is, works really well. These little marks here are genius. I really love that because it's within the apex of the wave. Colors look great. It has this abstract feel to it that just feel like it's fantastic. It's actually quite realistic. But it has this nice abstraction of shapes that works really, really well. One of the more interesting color harmonies I've seen in a while. And notice how what she didn't do is this. So let's say I want a yellow. This is going to be my yellow. And then I want a blue. So I'm going to grab like this kind of a blue. And then this kind of a artificial green. None of that. It's very natural colors, actually. Look at where, like, this green is a gray. Look at here again, the color swatch area. Look at where the colors fall. Even the orange, which is kind of one of the brighter colors, it's still not here, right? And same goes for the purple. It's a bit more muted. In fact, I would say the green and the purple are more muted, and then the orange is slightly more bright, which works really well. That's the way you achieve balance. And then you have this nice little grays here within the wave. Just beautiful. Really, this is one of my favorite recent paintings generally that I've seen recently. So yeah, really like that. So let's move on to another one. Let's leave them open for now. I don't know. So yeah, this is a small part of a painting, but if I judge it just based on its own merit, I like it a lot. You have nice nuance in the greens, right? So this is actually a lot of, there's a range there, right? It's mostly a yellowy kind of green, but there's a range to it. You could, if you want to add even more to that, add just, not purple actually, I want it a bit more red. Probably go just a touch of, and get the color I'm looking for. Wait, let me make this smaller. Let's start with the very dark. Yeah, okay, good. So now go over here. Just a touch of I don't know why, a pastel-ish orange, just to neutralize. It's already neutralized, but just to give it a bit of a kick, that would add a bit more of depth to it. Now I wonder what a blue would look like in the middle of this. Yeah, it looks good too. But yeah, so this is my thoughts. I like the whatever this is. This isn't, I mean, dates, coconut. It's not coconut, right? It's a palm tree. But yeah, I like it a lot based on this very small. I'm a bit tired. It's a bit of a small, you know, very focused section of the view, so it's hard to fully know. And this one, I really like it. So let me do one quick fix. It will be perfect. I'll just grab, let's do this. I'll hide it. I'll just grab this eye. Using this actually. And I'll just do this. There you go. I really like this one. That's the one thing that I would change. Your drawing wasn't fully accurate. Usually the gap between the eyes is going to be 1 eye long. So if you measure it, and it varies, right? So I have a very small gap between my eyes compared to the average. I know this for a fact, right? So this is about an eye. Now, as you had it before, it was around here, right? So it was a bit too much. There is some variance to it. Go back here. Like it could be here, it could be here, but for the most part, you'll see it somewhere around here. Okay. Other than that, really good. That's a good example of a core shadow, right? The shadow is very clear. So you can see its full shape, and it's really clear. There's light and there's dark. And even though there's nuance in the dark, it's a clear separation, which I really appreciate. Then there's some darker darks, then there's some reflected light in it. Very good job. Yeah, I can see, like, you know, some improvement to the shadows that's necessary in terms of where you place them. So I feel like this, I feel like the way you define this line and this reflected light could have been a little better. Maybe a little thinner, actually. But you are very aware of your edges, like very aware of them and the nuances. So very, very good. This is honestly better than most of my shaded work at the moment in terms of portraits and core shadows. Like core shadows are something that I don't like as much sometimes. But yeah, I don't like sometimes because I'm not good enough at it. But yeah, if you compare it again to the original one, the eye is a little out there. That's the main thing. Honestly, other than that, pretty accurate. Hey Pamela, how are you? Buenos dias, Diana. Good. So let's move on to Evgenia. So Evgenia sent us this one, and her Instagram is Evgenia Art, and it's spelled the way you see it here. It's a G-U-E. Yeah, honestly, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, I don't have much to say. It's really, really good. It's good in terms of the concept, you know, the imaginative quality of it. A lot of things are good here, you know. Again, I can't really paint something like this at my current level because I feel like I mean, I can probably, but it would be very difficult for me. So congrats. Like, even if you look at the colors, very clear separation of warmth up above, coolness down below. One thing I would probably, that's a bit of a nitpick because the technique is awesome. Like, everything is really good. Even the values, I would say, and the shapes and everything. The one thing that feels a little off, and I would be curious to see if there was some kind of reference photo. Maybe you combined a few, or maybe it's all from imagination. Just this area here and here, the anatomy of it feels a little off, especially in the elbow. I don't know if I'm imagining things. Maybe I am. I'm not sure. The hands are perfect here. Just the elbow here feels a little off. Congrats on getting this, like, sharp versus blurry. That's really, really good with the bubbles. The nuance in the water. So again, when I say to vary a color, this is what I'm talking about. When I look at the water here, I can see a bit of course, blue, yellow, red. You get so many nuances. None of that is really, you know, red, but like this, you see it falls on the red side of the scheme, right around here. See? If we were to exaggerate it, and you can really see it. I hope you can see it. If I zoom in, like this stain here and this stain here, they're warm. But then here it's a little cooler, and here it's a little more on the orange yellowy side. Really, really nice. That's how you create a nuance in colors. Doesn't have to be, in fact, it's better if it's not too starky, right? So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. This one it would be very tough for me to paint. Way to go. Yeah, the arm is too long. I would attribute this to Logan to the maybe warping of the water, and there is some creative, you know, artistic license. Because, you know, if this is the, let's say, what do you call it, forearm? The lower arm should be about the same length, should end around here. But, you know, skewing, some artistic freedom. To me, it's, anyway, it's like one painting and then second painting in a way. But yeah, definitely. The anatomy in the elbow definitely is the thing that bugs me. Yeah. Too long, yeah. Ellen, the top and bottom are disconnected for me, but really cool. Interesting. Yeah, I actually read them really well as one piece, but yeah, I guess that's not gonna work for everyone. Look at this nice little, you know, you have some red, just slap it into the wet paint. It looks so good, you know, into the cool paint. It looks really good. By the way, the technique here, just superb. Like, I don't know if that's a volcano erupting or something like that. This is really, really good. It's very hard to get this timing where you see you have 1, 2, 3 values, all done very carefully, wet and wet. Very good technique. Next up, we have Lefteris and then Logan. So, Lefteris, are you still here? Hopefully you are. You mentioned that you've done this plein air, and I can tell because it looks so colorful. Let me zoom out a bit. The sense of strong sunlight here is top notch. You've got it so well. Why won't it zoom in? There we go. Got it down so well. Now, what I said earlier about a lot of strong, bright, saturated colors that make a painting look amateurish, I want to show you something interesting. Because here, even though you got a lot of hey Adria, how are you? Even though my dear friend from Georgia, who I recently learned your name, even though you have some very saturated colors, like in the sky, and this, if you eliminate the sky and this red roof thing, all of the colors are actually quite muted. So you have not exaggerated it too much. You've done a really nice job. And I can actually just go ahead, grab, like, just for fun, I want to show you. So if I grab white paint and we'll go like this, and I'll do another layer, and we'll eliminate the blue here, right? Because I just want to show you already, like, okay, that saturated paint is gone. Now we got something that's very, you know, quite organic and muted. Then we get rid of this, and look at everything here. These are colors that work really, really well together. I don't know if you use just 3 colors, but if you have, it paid off. If you haven't, you're good at mixing. So let me go back and bring everything back, okay? Now, I'm not even beginning to talk about these nuances. So if you look at this area right here, like, what is that genius of putting in that bright, you know, orange here around the bottom, especially next to a muted blue? Complementary colors opposing on the color wheel, one saturated, one muted. That's how you do it. That's how you achieve harmony. You've done a fantastic job. And I can tell this was done plein air. One more thing I will commend you for. You got the mid values correctly. Like, this is a very believable shadow color. I mean, this shadow, as it relates to this red, is perfect. And so you have this, and then you have that. And I will say, not multiply, just do it normal. And I will, let's see if I was a bit of an inaccuracy there. And it's not too dark. That's the thing here. Same goes here. Not too dark. That's a nice mid value. That's a very nice mid value that leaves enough room for the darks, like this windows and everything here. Congrats on the time of day. Paid off, like strong contrasts. Very, very nice. You've done a really good job here. Absolutely love this one. Again, if you want to improve some aspects of it, I would still mute the sky a bit, make it a little bit of a muted color, because I do feel like it's quite jarring compared to the rest. Let's try. Let's see if I'm correct. I may be mistaken. You know. I feel like that is something that will greatly improve the impression here. Look at this, by the way, this area here, you got a very nice smooth transition. That's so clever. So yeah, sky, and then we'll do, close it up please, thank you. Adjustment, hue saturation. And if we just play around with it a bit, see, and I would actually also, you know what, I would maybe even leave the saturation but go lighter. Now that I think about it, let's see. So how would I go lighter? I'll place a yellow layer, a white layer on top, and probably play around with the opacity. I think that'll be a good way. So even the way it looks now, I kind of like it, I have to admit. Let's do this. See? Before, after. I don't know why, to me that feels really, I may be mistaken, it's a matter of taste. Like, I do like that blue, you know? I like that blue a lot. I don't really want to get rid of it. Maybe something more gentle. But you know, I may be nitpicking at this point. Beautiful work. Beautiful, beautiful. Love it. Clever use of colors. Values on point. These little leaks you got here, I love the way they look too. So, you know, these little things here, the technique, the cauliflower, so to speak. Nice work. Really nice work. I'm happy you're here and you're listening. Good, good, good. What would I improve more, like on a more serious note? When I think about it, you know, this one feels perfect to me. Even if there are some things I may consider fixing, because I can tell you that's the impression of how you saw it plein air, I wouldn't change pretty much anything. One thing you could experiment with, you know what I would like to try actually? Let's give it a try. 1 second. I know I'm being a little... What if I turn this layer... Because something still bugs me with that blue, and I'm trying to figure it out. So if I go here, I do this, what will happen? See, that's a better blue, in my opinion. That's too dark, but that's more harmonious. I knew something was bugging me. And I'm not even sure why. Just maybe the ultramarine is too strong here. That looks more harmonious to me with your reds and yellows. That was the thing I was missing. It makes it look more sunny. Am I imagining? Like here, it feels like the sky is almost overcast and it shouldn't be this sunny. And here it justifies the sunniness. You know, so if you want to know what I did, I just changed the color of the sky to something that's a little more cerulean. So you could add just cerulean to your, and you can see it here. See, you could add, oh, you can see it. You can see it because of my silly OBS. Never mind. It's just this color, you know. Kind of this color, right? Instead of this color. Wait. This color. See, so this is more towards the ultramarine. Can even look sometimes a little like this. I think, or maybe it's this. I don't know. But I feel like this works a little better here. Am I imagining things? Could be. To me, this looks more like it. But yeah, exactly. For the time of day, it hopefully makes more sense. Sweet Smiler. Let's see. That's a cool username. I love that. Okay. Logan, it is your turn, and I hope this was helpful. Hey, Ariel, how are you? Very nice. And now the red roof fits more. Yep. Ariel's my friend from here, so hope you're doing super well. Let's see here. I want to check I didn't miss anything, and then we'll do a addition of everything else I got from starting the live. Hopefully there isn't too much. Okay, I see a few. Okay, we'll get there. So Logan, let me close everything else here. Thank you so much everyone for sending these to the Control W. Oops, I did not mean to close that. Sorry. Let me bring it back. So we have Logan 2 and 3. And I'm going to bring back Logan 1. Very, very important. So Logan painted a scene from Joker, right? So this was the original scene right here. And then you shared a scan, which you said looks the best to you, and a photo. So definitely the scan looks more accurate, so I'm going to stick to that. I just wanted to include a photo because the scan is a little darker, but we're probably not going to talk about that photo at all. I think the scan looks good enough. So the main thing I would actually fix here, so when you look at it, and let me actually do this thing again where I go, I'll put them side by side, canvas size. Let me go with the here, that, sorry for that, magenta once again, goes here, then we'll get reference in there, good. Let's get it all, so it actually fits. And then please, let's get rid of this annoying magenta. Sorry for the long prep time. This blue, or maybe just white. There we go, bye-bye. Okay, good. Sorry for that little distraction. So, I think you've done a really good job with the colors, the values, everything. Because these types of scenes are incredibly tough to paint. Like, I still don't feel like I have a good grasp on night scenes whatsoever. Here's the main thing to work on is the drawing. Because what you did is you made one big mistake that shifts everything around. So you were actually consistent with the perspective you set up, but you set it up different than from the reference photo. So your horizon line is, you can probably see it, and maybe you were aware of it, right? So the original horizon line will probably be somewhere around here. Probably. If we connect all lines like that, we'll get to a point somewhere here. Okay. Now, if we connect yours, look at what happens here. The horizon line falls here, which doesn't make as much sense. So it's not a huge difference, but it's actually quite huge for the scene, right? So if you were to place it correctly, it would be somewhere around here probably, whereas you placed it here. Now everything else comes out of that horizon line. And that means all the cars. So instead of your car going like this, it goes like that. Now, what this does is it's not necessarily a mistake. You make the angle higher view. Now, if you plan to do that, kudos to you. But if this was a mistake, I'm just saying, this, you can tell how this car, the angle we're looking at is quite low. You connect all the perspective lines together, right? It's quite low. But as soon as you turn this car into this kind of a thing, place it here, right? So you place it here, immediately you change the angle from which we're looking at it, right? So it turns to something like that. Okay. So that's one thing to pay attention to. Now, the scale of the cars is another pretty important factor, actually. So if you look at their size, obviously this one's a lot smaller. I'm going to see if you're saying the ground losing its shine. I think it was more problem with the result. Let's see here. Probably missed something else. The ground is actually really nice. You know, I think this has more to do with your scanner. So let me see if I can improve that. I actually think you did a fine job on the values. So if I were to do this and do that, See, yes, it could be shinier, like really shiny. So you obviously didn't get it as shiny as it could be. But I would argue that's a secondary issue. Because if I were to zoom out a lot, this honestly would still be read as a photo to me. So the light and shadow make a lot of sense, personally, I think. If I didn't have any context and I would see this from afar, it'd be like, oh, that's cool. Could be a photo, right? But then the problems arise with perspective and how you treat that, okay? So something to be aware of, right? The car should head into a lower horizon line, say here, and then your lines would end up being, so this is the side of the car, right? Something like that. And bigger, right? And this thing would be, oh, I drew directly on it, so I can't make it disappear. Okay, I can move it. But in any case, imagine this only to the right, okay? So I would say that's the main issue to me. How far I can go back with all my sketches. Good. Let me know your thoughts on this. That makes sense. Small changes to the horizon line can really compound, and it's a very common mistake to flatten things. So instead of them being like this, people tend to do this. Okay, now this is what it would look like if it were going uphill. So if you put a flight of stairs even here, and we talked about that in one of the previous in the previous live stream, actually, right? If you put a flight of stairs there, yes, it's gonna go up there, but these lines should be a little more flat. Imagine flat, almost horizontal, flat, not like this, okay? But it could be a cool experiment to just try and add some stairs and see what happens, right? Or maybe add a bridge and figure out how you can build a construction that looks realistic, you know, in the scene or whatever, just for fun. But yeah, this does influence everything. So even if you had like a box placed within these, so let's say we have a box here within this space, and it's not even oriented to the, you know, to the horizon line necessarily. You'll have a box, whereas here, that box feels like it'll have to be a little more uphill in a way. You see what I mean? This feels almost uphill. But yeah, enough of that. I'm going into too many. Like this, the way you got all of this, you know, the trash in the street, and that all of these nuances of light and dark, even this little, you know, cloth fence, whatever that is. And by the way, I watched the movie, I loved it. It's so good. Like, pat yourself on the back for getting the values so accurately, because I could definitely be fooled that this is a photo from afar. Definitely. So very cool. Really good job on that. But yeah, hope that makes sense. I think it wasn't a problem. Yeah. But in case, yeah. Now I want to do a print. I don't forget. Is that shift print screen or control print screen? Oh no, it's a Windows print screen. There we go. Okay. But in any case, yeah. So we can move on. So some of you have sent me your paintings. Let's get them in Photoshop and get started. I'm gonna leave yours up for now. And let's see what we got. So now we're into the send me your paintings and we'll look at them live section. So Annie sent us a landscape. Let's get that one. And up. Photoshop. Good. So a couple of things like we've talked about earlier, and I think I saw you in the chat, right, Annie? Let's see. Yes, I'll definitely remember feedback about perspective. Yeah, and then for the middle of the road where it's not light enough, you can of course just use opaque paint or plan in advance. Go go a little more gentle when you do that first wash and darken it up, you know. But yeah, so Annie, a couple of things I say. What we talked about earlier, values. Oh, hey, there you are. Yes, I don't know why I missed your. I was looking for your chat, couldn't find it. A couple of things: compositional, colors, and values. So values, you have light and dark, and if I go again black and white, it becomes quite apparent. I keep forgetting the shortcut for. There we go. It's quite apparent. You have a dark and a light. So what this does, again, it makes me miss some of the sense of depth in there. Okay. So let me show you. I'm gonna do this really quick. I keep failing. All I wanted was to add a layer. I don't know why that was so hard. So if I go ahead and let's make some of this a touch lighter, right? Send it to the background a bit. Not the best way to lighten things up, but already you can feel this thing moving into the distance, right? There's a bit of depth now. Now your green, it's the same green all throughout. Try varying it, right? You don't have to, but this can really help create that sense of not only depth, like not even if you're aiming for something realistic, but just variety and interest. That's a really good thing. The sun, I love that. I love that. Just yellow. I absolutely love it. This is something that wouldn't happen probably as much in reality, so I do want to point that out. Like this kind of a weird corner, it's very not nature, so I may flatten it. But again, maybe it's a very unique view and it actually happens there. Maybe this goes uphill, I don't know. And one final thing, the one thing with compositions where you place things, I'm not dogmatic with the rule of thirds or any of that, but one thing I do try to avoid is placing things right on the frame of the painting. Now the reason for that is, for me, I find that it makes me want to see that thing, and it can be a little frustrating because I want to see it, I want it to be inside the frame, and then on the other hand, it can create an unwanted frame in addition to the natural frame. It could close it off too much. So something to have in mind, right? I hope that makes sense. Let me know. And I think we got us covered. And yeah, definitely, like the in terms of just judging it based on the colors you chose, like that yellow, that gentle blue, and the sky, I love that gradient, works really well. And that green and brown, like the green and brown work really well. The blue, nothing sticks out too much. It's just that I would rather see a bit more variation in the green. Would make it look a little more natural. Pretty much it. One thing I do want to commend you for is how you did unify the entire background. Like you didn't actually paint each and every leaf. Great. Very important to create a natural feel. Very good. That makes sense. Happy to hear. Let's do another one. So now we're in the extra. So let's see what we have here. I see your email, Tom. We'll get to that. Let's get to someone who still we haven't done. David. Good. David, are you here? We're gonna get this. Second, because I'm doing it live. I prepared all the previous ones in advance, but here I need to actually get the files. 1 second. At least my computer is not an issue anymore. It works fast. Let's see here. Good. Open it up in Photoshop. Very nice. So this is actually really interesting. I have a feeling we need to play around with the levels a bit. Probably a photo, a bit blurry too, but this will make it a little clearer. Good. So yeah. First, congratulations on getting the major shapes accurately. Like the major important shapes. So this, right? This, it all flows really well, and your perspective is quite on point. I can tell you put a lot of effort into it. I get this feeling, and I'm not sure I'm correct, so correct me if I'm mistaken, that some of the windows are too wide. Now, I'm being careful because this may be the actual structure of things here. I get a feeling that some of these windows are a little too wide. Like here, they look perfect. And I see this, like even these doors, but maybe that's how they're meant to be, this arch too. Maybe, because the drawing looks super accurate, so I don't think you made a drawing mistake here. Now, here's where I will, like, a couple of things here that actually blow my mind. So, obviously overcast, right? Obviously it looks like a rainy day. The way you capture that effect works really, really well. Like this, the backgrounds here and the patches in the sky conveying clouds, and then the very gentle reflections here work really well. I am missing a bit of a mid value. So to me, let me just try it out for a second. You see, so it's all pretty light. What usually happens in overcast days is you will get, especially the buildings, but sometimes everything under the sky a little bit darker. So let me just give it a try. We'll see if it does something to improve. We'll take black and we'll play around with the opacity. Get a very big brush here. I don't need too much accuracy right now. I just want to, don't worry, we're gonna play around with them. But my gut tells me that in these kinds of views, for the most part, like everything under the sky is gonna be pretty much dead. We even got some unintentional rays of light. And then maybe, and of course I can play around with this, is a little too strong. Maybe something like this, right? That's kind of the feeling I get, you know, I'd even go stronger. To alleviate some of that, we can do a color overlay and get it to not be black, but rather some kind of a warm color. So if I do, not this. Why don't I have a preview button for the before and after? Whatever. Even this kind of a color, just to make it a little warmer and not just black color. And then if you want to do some highlights, you could actually even have, like, if you have a light area in the building, or maybe some windows that catch the light from somewhere, and then you can get the reflection down like this, you know, or maybe someone's holding an umbrella and then you want to reflect that, or whatever it is. But I feel like there's usually a baseline of everything under it is darker, and the sky is the lightest thing. And if we zoom out a bit, I would argue that this is more realistic in the pure meaning of the word than this. See the difference? Yeah, I like that a lot. And then we can talk about maybe you want to add some color to it, because it's mostly like blue and yellow based, which I have no problems with, right? It could be just blue and yellow, definitely. But that's another discussion, right? Maybe you want to add a bit of a red just to break it off, like a detail on a person. I'm missing, generally speaking, details around here, but that's, again, matter of choice. David, okay, here you are. I love my new painting. Now you've improved it. Yeah, everyone, make sure to take screenshots. But yeah, this is so nice. You know, the painting is really, really nice. Your drawing is accurate. You seem to have a background maybe in architecture or something like that. Am I guessing correctly, or maybe, or just in drawing? It's a tough curve to get. I would definitely want to see some, you know, cars or something like that. I just randomly add some stuff here. So maybe you'll have, now I'm just having fun selfishly, but a brush. This is kind of a dark, but you know, and then you get some reflections. these kinds of things. I don't know, it could look really, really nice adding a few more details there. But yeah, my 2 cents. Happy it helps. Police officer, Regent Street in London. Okay, yeah, it's a beautiful, looks like a beautiful. Oh, okay, you're a police officer. Okay, cool. Police officer with a very sharp eye for architecture. I like the deliberate cauliflower cloud stomp. Same here. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so more people sent stuff. Let's see. We have Arca. Ooh, that's interesting. That's super different. So that's a painting that I'm gonna show it, but I'm not gonna judge it because it's a completely like it's a statement painting. You know, it's there's no reference. There could never be one because it's so imaginative. There we go. Just wanted to share that. If we're talking just pure composition, honestly, I like it a lot. I mean, it's creepy, but I'm sure it's meant to look a little creepy. The colors even, I wouldn't change much. Very interesting work. I wouldn't change much at all. If anything, I really like the nuance of temperature you got there on the face. Like this area here. See, that's how you create that interest. Right? You have this brown, you have this gray, very nice color harmony. Even that yellow works and everything works in harmony, you know? I love that. So kudos to Arca. Wanted to share that. So let's do a few more. And sorry if you were expecting like more critical feedback. I just let's see if I got something else. Yeah, so let's get Tom's. Ooh, this is nice. This is nice. This is really realistic. Okay. All. That's a nice view. Okay. Good. So yeah, this is really, really nice. Let's do. I feel like the photo again isn't as accurate representation of what it looks like. Though I may be mistaken. Then let me try and do auto image, auto tone. What will that do? Yeah, that's a bit better, a little warmer. And then let's do auto color. So if we compare it to before, yeah, that's much cleaner. Good. Yeah, so I love that. That's, you know, I love shadows on like a white car. And I love how you weren't tempted to go super dark there. You could probably go even darker, honestly, on the car. Like if you look at this right here, you could go a little darker there. And you could probably go a little darker with the background too. So the way what's like the best thing, let's say, to try and improve that kind of a thing? I don't know if you're interested in that kind of a thing, but, and I think also image is just, let's do hue saturation a bit. Let's do vibrancy. I feel like the colors don't pop enough in the image. I don't know if it's the photo. Yeah, that's a little better. See the difference? That's a little better. Yeah. So this section, that's terrible. Don't do that. Normal. See. The sky is really nice, you know? I think you really got the sky down. That's a really nice sky. You know, you match the colors in the sky like 90% perfect. That's really, really neat. And obviously you changed a lot. So you added a road, or is it... So let me know, did you change things deliberately? Because I am seeing a lot of difference, obviously. Let me know. Jennifer, no worries. I'm gonna do more of these. And also, Arica, let us know what medium it is, because people are asking. I wonder if you're here. Lillian, I don't. When did you send it? I don't think I got it, or maybe it's in a different inbox. Oh, Jennifer. So did you? I don't understand. Wait, let me see. So let me see if someone emailed me to a different address. Yeah, I don't see it right now, but maybe it'll take a few moments. Oh, okay. I got like 6 emails in one go. Okay, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. We'll go fast. We'll try. So yeah, Tom, I took some foreground from Google Maps to make it more visible. Oh, okay, okay. I see. Yeah, so really good, honestly. One thing you could do is, again, make the contrast a little punchier on the car. You don't have to do this. It actually works really well. I'm going to open it up here on a different monitor so I can see it. So the way I see it, that purple thing we talked about earlier, so I'm not going to go into too much depth here, but this does look like it could be much more towards the gray, right? So if I sample, let's get the same kind of color, only gray it out a bit. And just a touch. And one thing I do notice is that it should probably be a little lighter, the shadow that is. It does start a little dark. See how that looks like? It's amazing how one small touch, like this looks more realistic, just a small touch than this. And then you do have, of course, right under the car, a bit of a stronger shadow, right? Like that. Not as dark. Right. And then I would not fear going a little stronger here. Of course, just on the white areas. So something like this, see? Just to get a bit more of a shadow there. I actually like the green contrast here, but you changed it obviously, so it doesn't matter. And I like this, there's depth there thanks to this fence. This is like the front of the car, this area here is super realistic, really nice. Really. Got the details in, you did it patiently. Yeah, I don't have much to add here. Really neat work. If you would use the original background, yes, you can do some modifications and things. Again, avoid that purple and you're golden. Really like that. And then we get some more the Google images, yeah, and the reference itself. Really cool. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna try and pick up the pace. David, oh nice. So I'm not gonna show this, but David, you sent me that study of light and shadow. That's a really good study. You know what? I will show this because I do think it's important. So here's just not a critique, but I want to show you this as an example. So if you're struggling with light and shadow, doing these kinds of things, which again, David just sent me, like that's a very wise decision, in my opinion. So just, you do that, practice it in isolation, then you do a painting with it, and the next time it's going to be much easier to paint. So let's see, so that's okay. Same one. Lillian, I now see your email. Sorry for the delay. Oh, that's really nice. That is really nice. Okay. Let me save them. And we'll open it up in Photoshop. So this is the first one. Reference. I have too many files with the same name, so I need to find. There we go. Good. So yeah, so I'm gonna open it up side by side. please do not fill this with background, but rather with a black color. So this is already pretty big, but my computer can handle it. So we'll do this. I'm sure there's a better way of showing these side by side, but until I figure that out, I'm gonna do it manually, and then we'll get this one here. Boom, nice. Okay. So a couple of things, Lillian. And let's see. You mentioned anything important? Painted my grandchild, a birthday present. Good. Check for a second. I missed a bunch of messages. Good, okay. Lillian, if you... So, I assume everyone who sends me now, you actually want me to do it now, right? Let me know. But you asked in particular about the hair. So let me open the painting for now. The hair, I wouldn't even add anything to it. You know, I think it's done. What you could do is grab a shade that is similar to what you have here. Okay, so let me show you. So you grab something a little darker, right? It's really cool hair. I like it a lot. I don't know if it's dark enough. Let's see. Definitely not dark. Yeah, and what you can do is in select spots, just add a few of these, just create some more sense of depth or shadow, because I do see some of that, but other than that, I really don't think you need to add anything else, honestly. It looks really, really good, and you actually got the eyes, you got them perfectly, which is the hardest part to paint. One thing I will say, I don't know if you plan on bringing in the background, but I actually quite like it because it contrasts really nicely with the hair. Let me find my bearing here. Good. So the background has this dark blue, very nice, and that contrasts really nicely with the hair. See this kind of a thing, and it's even darker like the lower it goes, but it goes more like this down below. But I think that's a really cool way of framing the portrait, just saying as a suggestion. I don't know if you plan for a background, but this could be a good idea. As for the hair, again, a few touches, not of black paint, just slightly darker, right? And one thing I would say just for next time, it's not really something I would tell you to fix now. You get the face features really well, but the flow, like here I can see that, and it's probably the paper, it's probably not even your fault, but some of the flow it's just a little too broken off. Probably just use more water, try and use more water. And one thing I will add, and it really gets dark fast now, one thing I will add is for the shadowy side of the face, a little more coolness would go a long way. So even this same kind of blue, if I were just to add, and let me get this, I have a phone call, but maybe important, I'm not even sure. Okay, they hung up, good. It was like 1 or 2 rings. Let me try get back to them just 1 second, give me a second. Spam. Okay, we're good. Just a bit of blue would go a long way to balance out your warmth. Because what it feels like to me, and even a bit more gray, to be honest with you, it feels like you've been using the same color all throughout, which sometimes will happen, but very often the shadow color will have some more nuance to it. So even if you look at my face right now, right, this is the side in the shadow. It's not the exact same color as here. There's a bit of nuance. And I feel like you went like this from like this same color all throughout. So like this. It's kind of this, and then you went, so this is the dark, and then this is the dark, and then this is the darker and darker. And that's a very straightforward way of doing things, where for the most part you'll get something like this, maybe then a bit of a shift. It'll be like this, and maybe a bit more of a shift. You could even get a bit of not a purple, but I would say maybe like a bit of that, you know. It really will depend on that was a bit exaggerated, I know, but like you'll get all sorts of colors and the nuance from light and shadow that I would be careful of just using the same one. Okay, it's a bit of a note. Let's see what you're saying in the chat, and then we'll do some more. I'll go back a bit because I see a lot of fun messages. Okay, good. Great sky, says Lefteris. Alessandro, how are you doing? I only watercolor a year now. Okay, good, good. No, Jennifer, you're on the right track. Here, late entry, can't sleep. Hi, all about it. That what incredible paintings. Lumpy says, roast me, Liron. We'll get to you. Hui Joyce, hi Liron. Have you, I've sent you my painting a while ago, and I resent it again, anticipating your critique. Okay, let's do this. Let's get through some more. I don't know why I don't see new comments. Let me refresh, and maybe you're just not writing. I don't know. Good. No, we're good. So let's see what else we got. So Annie did that. Ooh, these are nice. They're really. Okay, so we're gonna do Rattlesnake Renegades. And I'm sorry if I don't know what username to connect it to on YouTube, right? Let's actually leave that one. Then, right, so I'm gonna grab everything but that one. Some files here, sorry. Extract here. We've been running 2 hours and a half already. Okay, let's go. So a few more by Rattlesnake Renegade. So I'm gonna pick up the pace. You have really good understanding of colors, like I can see it everywhere. Here, 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 here. Really good control over colors. I believe it's just watercolor, this one? I'm not sure. But let me see off the top of my head if there's some quality kind of advice I can give you. So this is really, really nice. I love that a lot. I would probably go with a bit of a cooler shadow in the foreground just to make a distinction from the rest. But when I say cool, I mean very gentle. Very, very gentle around here, right? Look at how nice it looks and kind of contrasts with the rest of the colors here. Just a bit of it, like that. Just to break off the warmth of the road. See, I don't know, I like that a lot. I would even apply some of it here, but really good. Very good, the sky, wet and wet. Great technique, great control. My favorite one is this one. This is perfect. I love that a lot. So this really goes to show you that nothing is really the color it seems like silver or, you know, like a metal kind of thing. None of it will be just gray. There's always nuance, and this is perfect. And these are some of the most fun paintings in a way to make, because if you just focus on the abstract shapes that are created by the different colors and shapes, you'll do really well. You'll do better than if you try and, you know, match every single color you see. So this one is really pretty. Let me turn on this light. There we go. So it's getting quite dark. At least it's nice. You can see my little light there in the corner. Let's see. This one too, really good colors overall. The drawing is actually pretty accurate too. Like I can tell. At first I was like, there's a lot to correct, but this leg here made me really see it differently. So I like that a lot. The same kind of thing with shading. So it looks like you shade with the exact same color. And for interest's sake, very often you'll find it useful to shade with a bit of a different color, maybe a bit more blue in it, mix just a bit, like 10%, 20%, something like that could work really well. And then, like this previous one is, and this is really nice too. So there's actually quite a lot of nuance in this one. That color scheme, I had to kind of stare at it for a few moments. And again, if you zoom out, that's quite realistic. Like not fully, but quite realistic. I'm considering whether I would have wanted all of these mid values of the snow to be slightly darker, but ever so slightly. The one thing I may change is I wouldn't use this kind of texture on something that is so far behind. I'd probably keep it wet and kind of smooth transition. Okay, that's the one thing I would change here for sure. Now this red in the sky looks like you did kind of an experiment, and I like it because it breaks off the yellow and blue. Maybe you were aiming for a bit of a different timing, though it pretty much blended nicely. It's just a bit of a trail there that didn't blend. But yeah, really, really nice work. Really nice work. So let's do a few more. I'm getting tired, and then the critiques I give aren't as good. So we may have to just cut it here and do another one. Let's see. A rattlesnake, you sent me some more. These are nice. And Jennifer, I see you as well. So let's do the last one. Okay, I'm sorry if you just sent one or just arrived. Right now I see 2 emails I haven't wait, we have, no, Annie we did. So yeah, I only see Jennifer's and Rattlesnake that I didn't. So let's do Jennifer's email and then Jennifer's painting, and then we'll cut it for today. And anything you send me afterwards, we'll do in a future live stream. So here we go. Let's crop it so we can better zoom in. Very nice. So drawing fairly accurate. I like that a lot. Even the person. I'm not sure if you traced, but even if you have, that's really nice. Because I do see something that gives me the feeling this was traced. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes when tracing, it's still important to preserve some elements like best practices. So for example, when you draw this kind of a thing, I'm not going to go into too much detail there because that's not the main thing here, but I want to show you. It's nice to have something like gestures in mind. So you can go a little more confident on the shapes in a way. So if that's the head, then that's the front of the body. This looks like trying to follow a line, whereas you can just go confident. Find the overall motion and capture that, right? Overall motion. This is actually probably like that, right? The overall motion and shape. Same here. This is a curve, right? Then it goes like this, like that. This is actually a good example. Here you got a really nice gesture. This could be simplified just to this, right? So just a few things to have in mind there. If you trace, right? If you trace, pay attention that you also draw things in kind of a best practice kind of way. That was way too many kinda in one sentence. So yeah, obviously very prominent line work. So here's the thing, a couple of things here. Flow. The grass here You have a lot of different details in the grass. The tree, you have a lot of leaves and different details. And here too. So for the grass in the foreground, that's fine because it is quite close to us and we will see probably a lot of details. I would probably keep them to a minimum here and there, just to have it flow better. But that's okay. The one thing is here, I would avoid including that many details because that can really make us focus on that thing that's way behind and throw off the sense of depth. Okay. Another thing here, same principle here as well, right? It's peeking through. Now, colors. So you obviously went for two colors, like you have the red and you have the green. I would try and get one of them to be a little more neutral than the other. So let me take a bit of a painterly approach here and just grab my brush and let's try something interesting. So I'm gonna grab this green here that is still quite muted, right? It's not like a really strong green, but let me try and go even more muted and even darker, I would say, in some spots. I want just to do an experiment here, okay? So I'm making the green a little more neutral than what you have, okay? And then for your reds, I'm gonna go, and I may be completely wrong here, but I'm trying to figure something out. I'm gonna go with a light but bright red, okay? So to me, purely in terms of color harmony, this works a little better. And I probably went a little too strong there on the red. Muted down just a bit, but I still want it to be quite visible. To me, that has a bit of a better color harmony. I may be diluted, but that's what I feel. And the reason why is, to me, it feels like both your colors are equally, not equally, like both of them are a little too saturated for my taste. So I would actually, it's mostly the green, I will admit. The green feels too saturated with that strong of a red. I'd probably pick one of them to go with. Maybe mistaken, but that's kind of what I feel. But I do want to strengthen that red. I don't know, let me figure it out first. Let me figure it out. Let's go with a very strong red, but transparent layer. Because something still bugs me here. If I were to do this... Oh, you know what? I solved the problem, I think. If I were to do this... It was just too light, I think. It was too light. Let me try something. Wait a second. Okay. So Jennifer, yeah, okay. the previous thing wasn't. It's now I got it, I think. It's hard for me to place my finger on exactly what it is. I could just go wild here and make some changes, but I want them to make sense. So this definitely looks more accurate to me. Now, if I were, and again, I don't know, did you send me the reference? I forgot. But I wanted to try out, just to desaturate it for a second. See what I glean from that. I feel like the walls are too light. Even the rooftop itself is a little too light. That's what bugs me. The grass is okay, but I'd probably push it to be a little darker. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Let's bring back the color. Let's try. This is where we're at with the grass. Let's try adding another layer for that and seeing what happens, because that way I can play around with the value and a lot of So if this is our green, which feels way too light, go a little darker. The red definitely needed some strength. Let's try darker and more muted. And then go a little... I know what I'm missing. Could be mistaken, but if I were to get rid of this, go with a bit of a darker, go with... Yeah. Then I feel like this just needs a bit more variation to lead us in, so that the closer grass will be darker. That's what I was missing. Now, as for the farther one, I'd actually lighten it up a bit. Let's see. Lighten it up a bit to keep it in the distance. Now, the sky, I'm kind of tempted. I have no idea what they actually look like, but I'm kind of tempted to darken them a bit. To create some contrast with the roof. I don't know if that's what it looked like, if it was stormy or whatever, right? But I'm tempted to do this kind of a thing and then erase back some shape. So, I don't know. I didn't see the original one, but this feels a little more on point. Now, if we were to get rid of all of these extra layers and just bring it back, see how it feels a little flat? That was my problem. If I bring all of this back, it feels a little more like depth and three-dimensionality, which I don't know if it's like that in the original view. It was really cloudy, yeah. And then, I think that's pretty much it. I would create a gradient, sorry, that's the mic. I'll create a gradient on the grass to make it a little stronger the closer it is to us, but it still feels quite overcast. Then I would make it a red a little stronger. And then I would darken the sky. Now, I had one more point in mind. Yeah, so when you paint something like this, you're very likely, if you just choose two colors, you're very likely to end up with non-harmonious paintings if you go for a red and a green. If you were to take your three primary colors, use the red as is, and mix the green yourself with the yellow, blue, and a bit of that same red, I think you'd get a better color harmony right out the gate, which I feel like maybe you haven't done here. I don't know, maybe you have, but it feels like you chose a red and a green that aren't necessarily relating well enough. That's my feeling. So this is why I always say, limited palette, use just three primary colors and mix everything from them. If you're gonna choose convenience colors, they need to work well. So sometimes it's hard to do, it's hard to get. It's hard for me too. If I just choose two colors, I don't know if they're gonna work together well. I have no idea until I try, pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty much the point for this one. And I do think now it looks a little more on point, so feel free to, if you feel like it, take a screenshot and kind of have it maybe that's more as you planned it. I don't know. But in any case, I think now will be a good time to show you my face and to get ready to wrap this one up. It's been great fun. It's very challenging to talk about so many paintings at once, but I don't know. I feel like that was a nice scene. Yes, Sweet Smiler, that's a very nice red on the barn. Yep. Sorry, I know I'm super delayed with the chat. In any case, yeah, I'm gonna start wrapping it up now. Thank you so much to anyone who was here. This is pretty much what we do in the patron sessions. I did close the tier, the critiques tier, because I have 3 people in it. That felt like a lot of time. to spend on that, and I opened it up for double the price, basically. So if you still want to do that, check it out. I'm gonna just, every time I feel like it's time to increase the price, I will increase it, and then if the people who got it in the big first price will have that preserved. But I just feel like, to justify the time of doing these one-on-ones, I really need to make sure it makes sense to me. So this is why I increase the price, because otherwise I just feel like it's a lot of time spent for not enough return, because it's just one-on-one. And the thing I like the most is to do these kind of, with where I can reach a lot of people simultaneously and help more people simultaneously. So that's kind of where we're at. But this is in the exact format, only it's a video call, one-on-one. So yeah, let's see here. John says, thanks so much, Liron. That was really helpful, even though I didn't submit a painting. Leave a like, everyone. Thank you so much. Sweet Smiler, Liron, thank you so much. This was very enlightening. I learned a lot. Very happy to hear. Jennifer, as a beginner, I really needed the help. Yeah, and Jennifer, just keep going. I don't want to force upon anyone like my perceptions, what I think is the right way to do things. It's kind of a journey of discovery. So I'd urge you at this very early stage, like you said, a year, right? It's not a lot at all. To just do it a lot. You will get it. Maybe I'll turn on the light. Is that better? Plumpy, you demand Liron. It's always a blast. Thank you so much. So, Plumpy. Oh, I remember your email, Plumpy. Yeah. I saw your portrait. So I did respond to it. Did you see it? Now I remember. Now I connected. Josh, thanks for putting this on. Glad I was able to catch a live one. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you to anyone who sent the paintings. Matt Archviz or Archviz. Would I miss the live stream? Never mind. There will be another one next week. Tom, wow, you ran for so long. Yep, indeed. Video. Hi, Liron. Do you read any manga? Yes, definitely. I read plenty of mangas. Right now, I'm reading a manhwa, Solo Leveling. But yeah, I'm always looking for new ones, though. And I'm writing a manga of my own. Let's see here. Yeah, that looks pretty much like it. Liliana, it has been so helpful to hear your opinion. Thank you so much. Happy I could help. Traced. Okay, Jennifer. Yeah. Okay, good. Here. Yeah, it's amazing how like you get a feel for it. Like I could really tell it was traced. Again, nothing wrong with that, but I could really tell it. I'll definitely go back to see everybody's work. Information is soaking in a different way, and it's quite cool. Thank you, Plumpy. This has been a unique experience. I usually glued to the screen, but I have to work today, and I've mostly been hearing the criticism without the visuals. Okay. But yeah, that's so much beautiful paintings. Alfie, thank you so much for sending your work. It was really, really good and fun. Sweet Smiler, I was just procrastinating from painting, and this inspired me to try out new techniques and color combinations. Everyone, thank you. Yep. Josh, it seems like new computer is allowing some quality of life, and for man, so much. I should soon get the Elgato capture card so I can live stream with my camcorder, like the actual Panasonic 4K, so I can do like tabletop live streams, really high quality. So a lot of good things to look forward to. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will see you on Saturday's video. It's going to be a unique one. You're going to enjoy it, hopefully. It's going to be different. Full sketching session, no narration, a bit of music. I'm just trying out some fun stuff for my own kind of enjoyment. But yeah, thank you so much. I will see you in Saturday's video and next week's live stream. So we'll talk soon. Thank you so much for the support and for being here and for sending your work. Really do appreciate it.